In this video, we're going to look at the absolute value function again, but we're going to look at graphing the absolute value function. All right, so let's do some examples. So let's graph the following. So this is just the absolute value function that we all know and love. Well, I don't know if we love it, but so how do we define it? So it's equal to x when x is greater than or equal to 0, and negative x when x is less than 0. Okay, so now we need to graph that. So we're going to draw our x. Let's get a little bit more space. Our x and y axes. So when x is greater than or equal to 0, our function looks like a line y equals x. And when x is less than 0, it also looks like a line. Oh, that's not a line. We have this line feature. Looks like a line, but going with a negative slope. So that's a graph of our function f of x equals the absolute value of x. All right, let's try another one. Okay, so here we have f of x equals absolute value of x minus 1. So what does that look like? It's a function, so it equals x minus 1 when x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0, and negative of x minus 1 when x minus 1 is less than 0. Okay, so let's simplify this a little bit. So function equals x minus 1 when x is greater than or equal to 1, and negative x plus 1 when x is less than 1. All right, so now let's draw our axes, y and x. Oh, that's nice. Let's pick our point. So 1 is going to be the point where things change. So when x equals 1, our function equals 0. When x equals 2, our function equals 1. Okay. When x is 0, our function equals 1. Okay. That might be enough to give us our line. So there. This is what our function looks like. Good. All right. A little bit tougher. So f of x equals the absolute value of negative x cubed. All right. So our function equals negative x cubed when negative x cubed is greater than or equal to 0, and it equals negative of negative x cubed when our function is less than 0. Okay, so let's simplify this a little bit. Okay, so negative x cubed greater than or equal to 0 is the same as x cubed less than or equal to 0. Negative of negative is just a positive, so we have x cubed. Our function equals x cubed when x cubed is actually greater than 0. So remember, when you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative, the inequality changes. Okay, so now we'll go one step further. Our function equals negative x cubed. So x cubed is less than 0 when x is less than 0. And our function equals x cubed when x cubed is greater than 0. And that only occurs when x is greater than 0. There. All right, so this is our final function. F of x equals negative x cubed when x is less than or equal to 0, and x cubed when x is greater than 0. So now let's see if we have some room to graph this. So let's scroll over to the right and let's draw our axes, y and x. All right, and we're going to graph our function. Okay, so when x is less than 0, we get negative x cubed. When x is greater than 0, we have x cubed. Let's put a couple of points in. So I'm going to pick easy ones. So when x is 1, our function equals 1. When x is 0, our function equals 0. When x equals 2, our function equals 8. So I think that's enough points. Now when our function is -1, we get negative of -1 cubed, which is 1. When our function's -2, I'm going to plug into the first part of the function, and we get negative of -2 cubed, which is 8. So now we're going to join our dots with a smoothish curve. And we have a graph of our function. F of x equals absolute value of -x cubed. All right. Okay, all right, let's have a look at this one. So f of x equals x squared minus 9. So again, let's break it down. So our function equals x squared minus 9 when x squared minus 9 is greater than or equal to 0. And it equals negative of x squared minus 9 when x squared minus 9 is less than 0. Okay, we're going to simplify things a little bit. Okay. So x squared minus 9 is a difference of squares. I'll just write that in. Difference of squares. We're going to factor. Remember how to factor that. Good. And we, in the second position, we have x squared plus 9. So our function equals x squared plus 9 when x minus 3 times x plus 3 is less than 0. All right.